Alright guys, so in the early 80s mopeds were changing a little bit, and there were several kind of shopper bike style ones out, like the Yamaha QT50 and the Honda NC50 Express, stuff like that. Weird small wheeled things, generally with a basket or a lot of load carrying space. And they were kind of designed more for people that weren't really moped people, so they'd have things like oil injection or CVT drive and things like that. They've all got strange little things like that. The QT50 is shaft drive, which is pretty much maintenance free, but very weird for a moped. It's like it thinks that it's a Goldwing or something. So anyway, Puch saw this, and moped sales are starting to decline. This wasn't that long before Puch closed its doors, which I think was 1987, something like that, which we'll get to in the video on the next bike, but not this bike. So yeah, they decided to produce this, which this is the American name for it, the Puch Dart. It was known in Britain as a mini Maxi, and as you can see, it's got 14-inch wheels. It's got a tank built into the sort of under seat section. It's got leg shields and things like that. It's quite different from the Maxi, and it says on here that it was basically built to be fun to ride, and it has a low centre of gravity and all the rest of it, and a high torque head, which was recently developed. I don't know how well they sold. I've only ever seen one in real life, which I own, so they're a bit of an oddment. And so here's mine. This is a 1985 B-Reg it is, so it's been road legal. In fact, it was last on the road in 2014, so it's been off for about 5 years. There's some bits missing, as you can see. It needs side panels, probably leg shields as well, although I'm not sure if I'll bother with that because I imagine they're horrifically expensive. The speedo is missing, and we'll have a bit of a look around it and see what else is missing, because that's all I know about it so far. I have tried to kick it over, but the kickstart was jammed. I've managed to free the kickstart off, but it seems to be slipping the starter clutch, so I think the engine is seized. It can't be that badly seized because the spark plug's in it, so hopefully it's just sort of seized from standing and it won't take much getting it going. The biggest concern I've got is the oil pump, because it's an oil injection model, and if the pump hasn't been delivering oil to it and that's why it's seized, then it's going to be a complete nightmare. I might try a little trick I've developed involving a plank of wood with 2 screws in it. I don't know if I've released the Black Thomas videos yet, but if I have, that's worked a charm on that one. So without further ado, I guess it's time to have a proper look round it and see if we can get it unstuck and possibly even running. Okay, so here is the beast of a mini Maxi. I'll have to apologise for the wind noise because it is really windy. Cool sticker. So it's from Swindon originally. Art Dean's Motorcycles. 2-wheel specialists. 3-something-71. Don't know what that means. Cool. Right, so this is the Puch Mini Maxi. It's got plastic mudguards, plastic trim around the headlight. We have no speedo. It's got a horn down here, but it's also got this thing here, which I think is like a battery powered one for when the original one breaks. Let's try it. I think the battery's running low, but I love that. I'm going to use that for a different bike if I get this horn going. What else can I tell you about it? Attention, before the first start, Type F transmission fluid must be filled in gearbox. Yeah, that's pretty important. This whole section here is plastic as well. There should be some floorboard things that go over here and come down the sides a bit, as you saw in the pictures a minute ago. I might try fabricating those out of sheet aluminium, which I've got a little bit of, but I don't really know. It is, because it's a 1985, it came in the year before they legally had to have indicators, so I don't think it was fitted with indicators, although there's the odd little shady connection. That's the type of plug you get on ones with indicators. Certainly the Maxis. I mean, look, I'll have to investigate that, because it does have this as well, and I wondered what this is. Cat Eye Model BL 1000. I'm going to have to look that up. Can you focus on that? Yeah. But it does say battery capacity 6 volt, 1.2 milliamp hour, maximum charging current 1.2 amp. So I'm wondering, if this was either originally or has been converted to 6 volt DC with a battery. That'll be interesting, find that one out. There she is from the front. There's Puch in faded writing on the side, less faded on that side. Around the back, there it is again. The exhaust looks a bit tarnished. I don't know if the chrome will come back with a wire wheel or what. Also, this cover looks a bit tarnished as well. It's got the Posh air filter that you'd get on a Magnum in America, not a British Magnum, because British Magnums are kids' scrambler bikes as opposed to sports mopeds. We have rusty rims, which is a shame, but they might come back with a bit of love. They have Chengxing tyres on them, which are one of the better budget brands. Can I see what size they are? Chengxing. I bet it's behind this valance here. Let's try on the front. Does it have those? 2.5 by 14. Chengxing edge. Speedo drive's missing, unsurprising because the speedo's missing, but at least the speedo drive's there because it takes a smaller. It'll be a smaller speedo drive ratio on it. I don't know if it needs a special speedo. Don't know what this switch does. Might be something aftermarket to do with that. I don't know. Try and turn it over, and if you put enough pressure on it, it just does that. So it's not turning the engine over at all, it's just slipping the clutch. So I'm on a time limit. I've got 25 minutes to try and get this running. Do you think I can? I'm going to start by taking this side cover off and seeing if I can turn the magneto. Right, so I've got the side cover off. One of the screws that holds the side cover on also holds this oil pump in place. So I'm a bit dubious about this. I'm going to have to check it. I'll probably purge it, clean the lines and try again, regardless of if it does pump. But what I want to do is get the bike running, take the pipe off, the pipe that goes from the pump to the engine or the carb or wherever it goes in, and see if I can see it pulsing out of there. Hopefully I will be able to, which means that it will be running. For the time being though, this is my main problem. This is seized solid. So I'm going to try manipulating this first. If that doesn't work, I'm going to have to take the head off, and I probably don't have time for that today. So, mega jeopardy going on. Also, I'm not sure. I don't think that's original Bing. I think that's an aftermarket carb. Does it say something there? No. It doesn't looks like a Chinese Bing to me. So, also the intake looks about the same vintage. So I'm wondering if it's been tinkered with before. It's definitely got the look of a Chinese one, hasn't it? Right, anyway, onwards. Right, I hope we've got a decent camera angle, but this is the plank of liberation. 2 screws through it that fit in there. That is the plan. Got to be very careful because there's coil and points and things under there that you really don't want to wreck. But it works on the Tomos. As long as you make sure there's nothing you're going to damage in the way, I don't see why I shouldn't use it. There we are, it moved. This is excellent, I love this trick. You have a small amount of movement, however, that is worrying to a certain extent, because I don't think the piston's moving that much. I think that's just some slop. Let's try again, see if I can get any more out of her. Try the other way. Aha! Yes! Now getting a bit of movement. I wouldn't say it's groundbreaking. Well, it is quite groundbreaking because it wasn't moving at all, so I suppose, yeah, I'm just talking shit, aren't I? think the piston's moving with it though. This is the issue that we may well have here. So I'm going to take the plug out and see if the piston's moving with it, because that's just weird. Here's the plug, looking a bit dry. I don't know if that's from heat or just being stood, but also it's a resistor plug. So they've got a resistor cap and a resistor plug. That'll be inhibiting the spark a bit, won't it? Anyhow, so I will put the screwdriver in. Piston's near top dead centre, which is going to really mess this up. But the plan was to do that and then turn this. Can you see that? Right. I'll do a time check and see if I've got time to whip the head off. Okay, 20 minutes remaining. Let's see if we're going to get a chance to get a first start on this. It's not looking that hopeful at the moment, but we'll have a better idea once we've had a look, see what the cylinder's like and the piston. It's a shame it's near top dead centre really, but we should hopefully still have time to pull it down a bit. Here's the head off. 2 studs came along for the ride. Let's put that in there so we don't lose the washers. That is inside there. It is just past top dead centre, so we might be able to do something with it, but I don't know. Also, there would appear to be an oil line off in here. This is a negative sign. Nonetheless, let's get some oil in here, see what we can do. So, I've sprayed it with carb cleaner and GT85. I've got my nylon faced universal adjuster. Maybe another spray of GT, I think. Get some of that on there. Come on, you sod. Right, where's my big lever? Right, let's see if I can get you a decent shot of this in the rain. I think 10 minutes to go. Right, can we get any more movement? Not that way. That way. Ah. Hee-haw. Something good's happening. Get a bit of a deadlock with this footrest, but we have got that much movement now. Let's see if we can go the other way with it. Oh god, this weather. Don't do that. By Jove, I think we've got it. I've got 10 minutes to get this back together so I can do you a first start. I think we'll be struggling. Might have to be another time. Come on, you sod. There's one in there. Come on. This front wheel had stopped moving. Oh. Are we past it yet? Are we over the hill? Are we coming back up? I mean, I don't recommend this for the longevity of your mag set, but also bear in mind that there's no point having a mag set if your engine's seized. Right, I think we might be ready for the drill. I have done a full revolution, so if it's easier than that, doing it. You see, what's this look? It's got a bit of free play, and then it hits just impossibleness. Not good. Yeah. Right. It also seems to me that this nut isn't actually on that tight. Sorry, I know the front wheel keeps moving around. You're jammed in the on top of the fender at the moment, and the wind keeps blowing the front wheel around. Right. Wish me luck, chaps. That's more like it. Right, let's see. Next. I mean, this needs replacing as well, doesn't it? It's not very well. Seems to have a squish band though on the cylinder. This must be because it's the high torque one. It's one on the cylinder, one on the head. Okay, I've got 4 minutes. Okay, so I'm now out of time, but I've consulted my own service sheet. If you want one, download it. There's a link in the description. On top the head nuts up to 84 inch-pounds. Let's quickly check for spark. Did it? So day 2 on the mini Maxi Dart thing. I've done a bit of digging, and this is the fail sheet for last time it failed in MOT. It was then all apparently fixed and went on the road for a year after that. But if you look at this, it says directional indicators not working, which makes me think that it used to have them. And under here is some wiring, which I don't know what that does, but it's interesting. There's a bit more wiring chicanery going on over here, and there's this weird box. So I'm thinking, because it's points and condenser rather than CDI, it might have struggled a little bit to fit aftermarket indicators. So I think somebody fitted indicators to it and then had to remove them in the end, or it may have come with them originally as an option, I don't know. But I'm gonna find out. I mean, that I think would probably be an indicator switch as well. This is your start, stop, horn and lighting, I think. Don't know what that would be. Intriguing as it is. Anyway, you didn't get a very good view of the of me testing whether or not it sparked, and I don't know if it sparked either, because I tried to watch it back and find out, and I got nothing from that either. So let's set you up and try and get it to spark. Let's try and keep you as still as possible. Quite pleased with that. Should we stick some petrol down it and see what happens. Right, I'm really hoping you can see what's going on now. So I'm just using the world's biggest syringe to put some fuel oil mixture down the spark plug hole there, which should hopefully catch if there's a decent spark and compression, which it looked like there was a good enough spark, but we'll have to see how it goes. The idea is that it tests everything except the fuel system, because if it starts and runs for a couple of seconds on the fuel that I've put down the hole, then the rest of it works, and then as soon as I get the fuel system straightened out, in theory it'll be good to go. So this bike came from a bloke in Birmingham who was a really nice guy, and he actually cracks storage units. So he'll buy an old storage unit that nobody's been in for a while and hasn't had like storage wars really. The contents are his and he sort of bids on them. A few mopeds in fact he sold me 2. The second one you'll be seeing in a future video, and I think you'll love it because I really love it, it's amazing. But yeah, that's why we don't know very much about it, unfortunately. It's just as found. It was a good price though, and I'm sure we'll be able to do something with it hopefully, providing we can get it to run. Because I put a load of fuel down the spark plug hole here, it's actually quite hard to turn over because it's almost hydrolocked. Obviously you can't compress liquids, so I'm going to have to revert to the kickstart until it's burnt some of that off, and then hopefully when it gets to the correct ratio it should pop. Because that didn't work, I'm going to try filling up the float bowl manually in the carb, and hopefully it should draw it through that way. Involves taking the carb off and then just undoing the float bowl and filling it up basically. There's probably a way you can fill it from the top. I can't remember offhand, and it's probably be quicker just to sort of take it off and do it manually rather than spend ages working out how to do it the quick way. So I've removed the 2 screws holding the carb top on, and you can pull out the throttle slide and the choke slide attached to the carb top, although the choke slide tends to fall off on these. Then it's just a case of unclip the airbox and undo the clamp screw that holds the carb. Just wiggle it off basically. The float bowl unscrews with, I think it's a 15mm spanner, or in this case socket. Pisses fuel everywhere, and that gives you access to the jets and everything. What surprises are in here? Yellow fuel. The jet looks a bit clogged as well. I'm going to try putting some fuel in the float bowl and see if we can do it like that. Right, let's try it now. Okay, so I've put fuel down the cylinder, down the spark plug hole. That didn't work. I filled up the float bowl. That also didn't work. But I'm not sure if the jet's blocked, in which case the float bowl one won't work anyway. But it was worth a go, I thought. So I'm going to try changing out the spark plug. If that doesn't work, I'm going to clean the jet and try it in the float bowl again. And if that doesn't work, then I'm just going to conclude that it's a top-end compression problem, and maybe strip it down a bit more, have a look at the rings, have a look at that dodgy head gasket, see what it's got for a base gasket, and go from there. Okay, so here's the first thing we're going to try, B6HS. Let's give it a go, see what happens. Oh, the little cardboard thing came off. Okay, so I've stuck some more fuel down the spark plug hole just for good measure. Drop the spark plug also for good measure. Make sure it's nice and clean. I don't really want bits of sand and gravel going in my engine. Alright then, let's try again, team. Ooh. Okay, that might have been it.
Okay, slightly distracted then by the fact a bee got caught in the hood of my jumper as I was doing it. Does seem a little bit like there was some movement then. Hear that fucking bee again. Piss off, bee. Go away. Oh, stop dive bombing me. Right, I'm going to try a bit more fuel down there. Bear with. So, I figured it was a good time for an impromptu compression test, and we're reading 150, just under 150, which should be fine. So, next question is, how's it going to work when we put more fuel in it? Hopefully, it's going to start. Wish me luck. That's not luck. Okay. Turn the choke off. I'll turn it on rather, see what happens then. Ooh. We had some in then. Sort of. No throttle at all. I think that's a bodged on throttle there, bodged on carb. Right, let's lift the choke up. It's not making a very nice noise either, is it? Choke down. Sounds like things are grinding against things. I don't like how wobbly that is either. I'm not over keen on the fact that it comes straight off the final drive either. I mean, bit of an odd place to put an oil pump, I'd have thought. There's your change of the back wheels. Right. I think we can sort of call that a first start, can't we? But it needs definite things doing to it. I mean, what's going on with this? Nothing seems to happen. You can see it's turning that round. Is the cable even attached? There's the cable. Hold it tight. Yeah, it's moving inside the cable. So is it just badly adjusted or what? I'd call that badly adjusted. Right, so I haven't got enough hands to do this and hold you, but I'm going to try and start it again and pull on the cable sheath a bit to give it a bit of travel down there. That makes sense? Right, let's do it. So I think we can call that a first start. It worked when I held the throttle cable out, so it needs some sort of adjustery type thing in there, I think. I'm still not sure about this carb. I think it's a Chinese one, and I think it's aftermarket and probably set up wrong. There's a bolt hole there, stud hole, which makes me think that this used to have a different 3-bolt flange intake on it. So that's not original. That's, I don't think, original either. So on the next one, we'll clean the carb and find out what's going on with all this. There's no fuel tap, so I'll have to try and sort that out. And basically go through the fuel lines and everything. Adjust the cable for the throttle. And what else can we do? Here is the oil pump feed line that goes into the intake. And if you have a look at the end of it there, some oil appears to have pulsed out of it a bit, so that's a very good sign. I think it goes on to Where are you? I don't know if you can see. Probably can't. There's a little brass stud here, little brass stub end thing. So that'll be running lean as well, because at the moment there's a hole in the intake. So I'll reattach that as well. See how we do for running. Thanks for watching, guys. Couldn't resist it, finding out what's in the mystery box. It's been intriguing me this whole time, so let's find out together. Okay, flasher can. Some sort of circuit board. Is there a... some wiring situation under there? So I think it is. I think it's aftermarket indicators, and I think that's where the battery used to go. So at least now we know what sort of battery it was, because it's written on the lid. It was a 6 volt 1.2 amp hour max charging current 1.2 amp. I wonder if I could maybe put a lithium battery of some sort in there. See, we've got a fuse and everything. Looks like water's been in at some point though. But yeah, that makes it all the more interesting, doesn't it? That's the mystery box. Super wide. Is that important? Does it need to be super wide? Right, that's it. See ya.